Imagine this. Every day, someone is trying to bend your thoughts, guide your decisions, make you see what they want you to see. And most of the time, you don't even notice it. You think you're thinking for yourself, making your own choices, being rational. Cute, isn't it? That should scare you. Because the truth is, your mind is a playground, and everyone else is already swinging on your swings, sliding on your slides, and occasionally stealing your toys, while you pretend you're in control. But what if I told you there's a simple mental tool, a tiny shift in the way you think that can make you almost impossible to manipulate? Almost like a shield, a secret weapon hiding in plain sight. And here's the best part. Nobody talks about it. Not your teachers, not your friends, not the internet gurus selling hacks that barely scratch the surface. This is where people get fooled. No, this one is subtle, invisible, and deadly effective if you actually use it. I call it the shadow question method. Sounds dramatic? Good. That's the point. It's not just questioning things. It's a dark, surgical method that forces you to look behind every word, every gesture, every subtle hint, until the truth reveals itself. Read that again. Most people never notice this. Most people think critical thinking is just logic, reasoning, maybe reading a few books on cognitive biases. Adorable. If only it were that easy. Critical thinking isn't a checklist. It's not a how-to video you watch while sipping coffee. Real critical thinking is like being awake in a world that is half asleep. It's noticing the strings everyone else is too busy ignoring. It's seeing the shadow behind the mask. Think about how dangerous that is. And the shadow question method, it's deceptively simple. You already have it. You've just ignored it because it's uncomfortable. Because it forces you to stop pretending everything is fine. Because it makes you face the ugly little truths everyone else glances at and walks away from. Here's how it works. Instead of casually questioning things, you interrogate reality. Not just, does this make sense? But, who benefits if I believe this? What are they hiding? What do I feel when I hear this? And why? This isn't polite curiosity. This is relentless, probing, almost obsessive inquiry. Most people never notice this. Take an example. You read a news article. Normally, you skim it, maybe share it, maybe comment, maybe laugh. Boom! You've participated in the collective illusion and moved on. But if you use the shadow question method, you pause. You notice the words, the emphasis, the subtle framing. You ask, why this angle? Who wrote this? And why now? What am I meant to feel? Suddenly, that innocent headline becomes a map of manipulation. Suddenly. You're awake while everyone else is sleepwalking. That should scare you. Manipulation isn't always obvious. It's rarely a neon sign flashing, "I'm trying to control you." No, it's in jokes, compliments, the way someone tells you a truth that just feels right. Humans are emotional creatures. We crave agreement, validation, the illusion of certainty. And manipulators? They exploit that like predators. The shadow question method turns that predator into a confused, frustrated observer who can't predict your next move. You might think, sounds exhausting. I just want to live. Sure, if by live you mean sleepwalking while the world rearranges your brain without asking. But here's the irony. Once you start using this method, life becomes clearer, sharper, stranger. You start seeing patterns in human behavior that used to hide in plain sight. Small lies, tiny manipulations, invisible strings. And the more you see, the harder it is to be fooled. Most people resist this. They avoid questions that make them uncomfortable, cling to comforting illusions, and smugly call themselves open-minded. The irony is delicious. Open-mindedness without scrutiny is just gullibility in a fancy outfit. And by embracing the shadow question method, you step into a strange, lonely power. You start recognizing subtle games, little lies keeping societies, friendships, even families in neat cages. Suddenly, you're not a participant anymore. You're an observer. You're awake. Read that again. There's a cost. Once you start seeing, you can't unsee. You'll notice how often people lie to themselves, pretend, just to survive social niceties. You'll see manipulation everywhere, not just from obvious predators, but from friends, coworkers, media, even your own mind. That should scare you. And here's the part nobody tells you. It's intoxicating. Once you taste this clarity, you crave it. You start questioning everything, searching for the strings. And sometimes, you feel isolated. Few people are awake enough to understand what you're seeing. But isolation is temporary. Understanding is eternal. While others stumble in a haze, you have a choice. Let the strings guide you, or cut them, one by one. And the best part? The shadow question method doesn't just protect you from manipulation. It gives you power. Power to see the truth behind words. Power to make decisions not dictated by fear, bias, or social pressure. Power to finally understand the hidden mechanisms governing human behavior. Think about how dangerous that is. You don't need a degree, a book, or a guru's approval. All you need is the willingness to be uncomfortable, the patience to question, and the courage to face truths most people bury. That's it. That's the whole secret. A simple mental shift that turns you from prey into observer, from participant into manipulator of your own life. Ironically, the method that makes you impossible to manipulate is the same one that makes life more brutally real. Here's the challenge. Start today. Pick one small thing, a headline, a conversation, a meme, and dissect it. Ask the questions others are too lazy or scared to ask. Trace the strings. Notice the patterns. Feel the manipulation hiding beneath the surface. Do it again and again, and the world starts to look different, sharper, stranger, darker, but clearer. Every time you see through manipulation, every time you spot a hidden agenda, every time you notice a shadow others ignore, you become a little more untouchable. Because in the end, that's what the shadow question method is really about. Not being smarter, not being stronger, not being right. It's about freedom. Freedom from the invisible hands shaping your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Freedom to see the machinery of the world and decide, deliberately, consciously, without falling for illusions. And if you're honest with yourself, that's the power you've always wanted, isn't it? So, use the shadow question method. Observe relentlessly. Cut the strings and watch as the world tries and fails to manipulate you.